Welcome to another episode of Cool Cars with Chris. I am Chris. Thank you so much for being here. You know, on today's episode of the show, we are going directly to the Bat Cave, called Robin. We're coming over. No, not that Bat Cave. I'm talking about Doug DeMuro's actual Bat Cave where he keeps his supercars. Courage had a chance to head on over there and actually tour the place. You'll find out all about that on this episode. Plus, we're debating if you were to spend, say, over $300,000 on a Ford Mustang, the GTD version, is it just bragging rights? I mean, does it really compete with Porsche? Can you do that? Is it what it's worth? Is it worth it to you? Well, we'll find out about that. And topping it off, did you know Tesla, the car company, the EV company? Well, they may be tossing out the EV production in favor for some robots? What? I think I've seen this movie before. Anyways, more of that on this episode. Let's go. Hey, what's happening? I got the legendary YouTuber, traveler, world-class dude, Courage, on the line. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. California's big, so I guess even though I haven't really left California in a while, I guess I could still, there's just a lot to travel around there.
California is a really big state. If you travel from the bottom to the top, it's like really, really far. I mean, I've never done that. Now, speaking of which, I've never physically driven very far, which is kind of ironic because I'm a driver for a living. I've never really driven that far. I think the furthest I've ever driven is Flagstaff. But yeah,
okay.
I think, my parents had a house out that way. So
how long is that drive?
Oh gosh, I think it was 7 hours, I'm going to say, something like that.
Well, I'll just tell you this is that I'm from the Bay Area. I'm from Oakland originally. And back in college, I would drive back and forth between Oakland and San Diego, during off seasons and everything. That's an 8-hour drive from San Diego to Oakland. And so if you're going even any further north than California, you're beyond, you're in the 9-10 hour drives and you're still in California. So
it depends on traffic
crazy.
too.
I
remember when I first got my first GPS, way before iPhone had a GPS unit. I thought it was super cool because I bought those on the dash GPS units. And so I programmed to New York City to see how long it would take because the GPS tells you how many hours or days or whatever it tells you to take. I think it was 2 days and so many minutes or hours or whatever to go nonstop from San Diego to New York City. You're going to drive and told you all that and stuff. But I find that stuff kind of fascinating. But, traveling's fine. But for me, traveling, I kind of like keeping my traveling to shorter distance. I think if it's anything longer than maybe 8 hours, I'm flying. Maybe even 8 hours, I probably would fly.
Well, you're better than me now because I used to be like that. Where it's and when we go to Monterey and in the Bay Area, we'll drive most of the time. But I've started to kind of cut that off to about 5 or 6, beyond 5 hours or so. To be honest, then I'll decide to fly. If it's just long highway drives and just long straight drives, as of now, it started to really kind of weigh on me a little bit more. Even going to Arizona, I used to be able to go out to Arizona for a job site that was 4 hours away and literally drive back the same day. And I don't really think I'd be doing that right now, to be honest.
Yeah, well, a 4-hour drive isn't too bad.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, but I think the thing is for me, though, is if you're traveling to your destination and your entire day and a half and then some is just in the drive out. By the time you get there, you're I'm done. I'm tired. I'm just going to chill for a while. But I know flying can be like that too. If you're held up at an airport forever and got delays and you're sitting there and it takes forever to get somewhere where it should have been 2-hour flight. But
I do say that I really do, if I can, really prefer driving because of just the control you kind of have of the whole situation. If you can keep going if you want, you can, if you really need to stop, you can get out, you can take a break. You're in control of the vehicle, versus a plane. You're just,
it's funny that you say that because I was kind of wondering about that because would you say that most of your 9 to 5 job is not driving, but inside your office, right?
For me, that's the case.
And I'm just the exact opposite.
That's true,
for me, it's like I hate driving. Like I absolutely hate driving. If it's not for fun, I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I drive for a living. And so I mean, I just figure like somebody else drives or I will fly. That's kind of the way I feel just because I'm so sick and tired of driving. I thought I would kind of not feel that way, but I think it's just because I'm driving, all day, all night at work, all the time. I mean, it's
the last thing you want to see, like in a long, like, again, you're not doing for fun. The last thing you want to see is like a driver's seat, I would imagine.
Well, I think it's a different mode though, too. When I'm driving at work, it's a different experience. It's a different truck. It's a different everything. I'm getting paid to be here versus if you're sitting in traffic going home, you're not getting paid to do that.
Yeah.
Or even a long road trip, you're not getting paid to sit there. And so it just feels different. And you're using your car, using your gas, you're using your miles, you're putting wear and tear in your vehicle. It adds up. And, I think for me that like, I guess maybe I just like, it's weird being a driver that hates driving, but maybe it's just, I don't know. Like if somebody else offers to drive, I say, go right ahead. You drive. That sounds good to me.
Well, what's the old saying too? Is like whenever you see a mechanic, that's been say own their own shop or they've been a mechanic for a good amount of years, like they most likely they probably have a project that you've just looked at for years and said, I just I don't even really like working on my own cars now because I work on everybody else's cars all day, and so I feel like it's a little similarity between that. Is like spending most of your time doing something because you have to, because your job. When you're not working, you probably want to be doing something else, unless again it was more of like a fun thing. Like if you were going on a fun drive or whatever, like you'd enjoy that. But just a normal commute and driving around or again doing a road trip isn't something that's probably on your bucket list because you're always in the car.
No, not really, not at all, dude. I did over 300 miles the other night at work. It was that was local too. It didn't leave.
Yeah, I was gonna say like still within San Diego County. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't always happen. The other night I did that 250. It depends. Sometimes it's like about 100. Sometimes it's like 200. Sometimes it's 300. If you go out of town, maybe it's close to 300. So every single day doing that, and stuff. And I know it's different. It's different type of truck and different type of work and different type of thing. It's all totally different than driving, for fun to, Monterey or wherever. But driving is driving, and being on the road and seeing all the different signs and speed limits and traffic and cars and navigating people and doing the thing, it takes a lot out of you, and to do that and be done with that and just to shut your brain off and not have to work on that and just be able to just relax and enjoy a vacation. I think it's probably why I'd probably rather fly somewhere, especially kind of far.
Yeah, I can see that.
So Courage himself here, man, he is getting himself invited to all the hot Hollywood parties. I don't know how he does it. I don't know what he does. I don't know how he gets him on the name list. I got to figure out who's your connection, man.
Yeah, Hollywood is a different story. Don't put me in that bucket.
Come on, I saw you on the red carpet, dude.
Yeah, I'm in San Diego's Hollywood, I guess you could say.
Well, that's good enough, man.
I'll take it.
So where have you been, man? What happened? Where'd you go?
Yeah, man. Today was fun. It was something I had on the radar for a little while. Shared a little bit about it, but I didn't go to any Cars and Coffees this morning just because I knew I was going to be doing this.
And if you were at the Cars and Coffee in Rancho Santa Fe, did you hear what they had there?
No, what'd they have?
A Ford Mustang GTD.
Oh, yeah. I did. So I did actually see a post on that too.
I saw multiple posts about that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which.
It's cool to see it out in the wild. I do remember, I think at South OC, I think that they brought it out, but that was like really like before really anybody else was getting it. And I think Ford kind of had a hand in like bringing it out to the event, but like having it be somebody's that's just like out in the wild is kind of a different story.
What is the retail one of those?
I'm about to do some digging right now just to see.
I think it's $300,000.
It's in the 300s. Yeah.
So you're looking at like Lamborghini prices.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like really like because their competition is the Porsche, high performance 911 Porsches. Yeah.
What are those retail at?
They're in the threes too to like really get one that's like spec'd out. So
there's gonna be somebody out there who's gonna look at that and say, "It's just another Mustang. Whoop-de-doo." It's just another Mustang. And that's the thing about owning a Mustang. That's one thing I always thought before I owned a, I don't really own a Mustang. It's my son's Mustang. But when I looked at considering getting a Mustang, I was like, man, there's so many of these things, and you see them everywhere. They're all over the place. Like literally, there's so many Mustangs everywhere. You're not unique if you got a Mustang. Sorry to all the Mustang folks out there, but they are great cars. Trust me. But there's so many of them. There's nothing special about them, as you would say. Like say when I had my 370Z, I didn't see a lot of Z's out there, and so I thought they were special because you don't have a lot of them out there. I know that the GTD Mustang is a unicorn. It's not a lot of them out there. I get it. But to the average person, they might just see it as a regular Mustang and not even know, oh, look, it's a fancy Mustang or a souped up Mustang or whatever, Oh, it must be one of those fancy Shelbys or whatever, Mustangs.
What's interesting is I was doing a little digging and don't hold me to this because this is just quick Google searching. But the GTD I did look up price wise, and right now like their MSRP is $318,000.
That's from Ford?
For the MSRP from Ford. Yeah.
Do you know the dealership's going to mark that up even higher?
I just can't. Yeah. If whatever dealerships even have them lying around, it's still like, kind of on an order basis kind of deal. So, it's going to just be insanity with that. But the interesting thing is because I don't think they have a GT3 RS for this generation 911. I know they did have one previously, but right now they just have like the GT3 for 2025. Like they don't have a GT3 RS yet, I don't think. But the GT3 of this generation is approximately around like 225 to like 250,000 is what they're quoting.
Deal compared to the Mustang.
Compared to the Mustang, like, a little bit of a deal. Like you got the others outliers like the 911 STs and things like that.
But which one's faster around Nürburgring? I think
I would have to do some.
I thought the Mustang did pretty well. And I think, the truth be told is that even if you bought one of those cars, you're not taking it to Germany. You're not taking it over there. What are you going to do with that? You know what I mean? It's all bragging rights. It's just a trophy car. Well, I think when you get to that luxury, that $300,000 price point, whatever it is, there's trophy cars is what they are. They're cars and coffee trophy cars. You might do a burnout. You might do a drift, slide into a pole, whatever, slide into a fence.
Please don't. Please
don't. Take the traction control off. Do it. Traction control. Turn it off right now. Do it. And drift. She'll think you're hot.
Don't take the bait.
Just do it. You'll impress that girl. You don't want to impress her. Come on. You look at her right now. You want to impress her. Just do it.
I saw something a while back. It was like a reel on Instagram where it's like, it was like I guess like people think in their minds that like how people should react when they do certain things in public, like with their cars.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was like when you rev your engine or something like that, and like you expected like people are just gonna lose their minds.
Wow.
And like that's what you expect.
It depends what engine you got, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and you'll probably get a look or like a thumbs up here and there, but it was obviously like over exaggerated where it's like, women are just like, just gushing and like, dudes are just like giving like, fist bump in the air because you started revving your engine or whatever. Or you do a burnout at a Cars and Coffee and everybody's like cheering you on and everything, when in reality, like everybody just kind of turns around and like, oh, somebody decided to start that trend now at the Cars and Coffees. That's what normally happens when somebody does that. But it was the funniest thing I saw in a while, where it's just like, what's probably going on in your mind when you're doing that kind of stuff versus what's actually happening. It's just,
it's with anything really. It doesn't have to be car stuff. It can be like, look at me do this cool backflip off this, thing here into the pool.
Yeah.
And, or whatever, or something stupid or whatever. But, anyway, so you got invited to something super, super cool. I don't know what this thing even is. So what is it?
So I knew a guy that worked over at Elite Finish, a pretty big, kind of detail and kind of, they do a lot of, wraps and, just, I don't really know how to describe it per se, but they do a lot of detailing and things like that. Been around for a while. I knew some of the original owners, and one of the guys has branched out to kind of start working with this company that does a lot of membership based, kind of car community clubs. And, they come with different discounts with, manufacturers and different things like that. And I just so happened to be on Instagram, scrolling through and saw a post about an event that was going to be in a couple of weeks. And if anybody's familiar, with with Cars and Bids and Doug DeMuro and really, those that platform that's really been getting built out over, forever now at this point. They have a really, really cool, they call it the Bat Cave, kind of setup where it's basically their Cars and Bids headquarters here in San Diego. And so I had, an opportunity. I just so happened to message him and got to chatting with him. And he was like, yeah, I can get you on the list. It's gonna be tight. But, he was able to squeeze me on the list and was able to go and check out the Bat Cave. It was a bucket list experience because I've seen their podcast. I've seen like kind of the backdrops and his newer videos now when Doug does reviews and things are all, he does a majority of the time inside the warehouse now as opposed to.
Is it a warehouse or is it a house?
No, so it's literally, the underground floor of this, pretty big building in San Diego. So it has its own sort of like car elevator because it's actually underground. So, they drive their cars up to this elevator, it takes them down probably like 2 or 3 floors. And then this whole bottom floor is basically, this car storage / office space / podcast space.
So he rents out or owns, I don't know, this bottom basement in this building here in San Diego and he uses that to keep all his cars and all his podcast stuff?
So it's leased out. And if, for some background on that is that, Doug DeMuro essentially, sold a large portion or a good portion of Cars and Bids after building it out for those few years, really during COVID, which is pretty impressive that he was able to do that. But he sold some stake in that company to, a private equity firm that now owns a piece of Cars and Bids. And so with that, obviously, they get bigger funding to put towards, different parts of their business and different things like that. And so having a space like that, obviously, is just probably a line item in a budget for this new company that has kind of taken that partial ownership of Cars and Bids. So, Doug gets to use it as a benefit to kind of keep some of his cars there. But this is technically now Cars and Bids, their official business headquarters now at this point.
Oh, is that where he keeps all his personal cars?
No, he talks about a lot. He has space at his house, and so he'll keep a good majority of his cars there. But at certain times he might have like 1 car, maybe 2 cars there. But you can tell that they definitely have it filled out with cars that are potentially about to get auctioned. Some of the office staff, like they'll just kind of park down there just because, it's convenient because that area where it's in San Diego is definitely congested. Like,
it's like downtown areas and Gaslamp areas?
It's near, no, it's not like that area downtown. It's a little bit closer to kind of like the, like North Park-ish areas, kind of like that. Kind of like the, I guess you can say sort of like the west side of, if you're coming from like the college area, I guess you can say, it's a little bit more, it's away from the Gaslamp and all of that, but more like North Park kind of City Heights area. So yeah, if you imagine driving through there and like parking situations is just a nightmare. Like even, me going there today, I had to park on the steepest possible hill.
No way.
Right.
It brings you right back to home at San Francisco.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I've told you before, I've had some like horror stories of driving my like 300ZX through the big steep hills of San Francisco. And so I literally, I found a spot. I had to inch back because it was a red zone right before like somebody's driveway. And it was like just big enough for just like 1 car. And so I had to make sure that I backed up right up until the red zone, got out of that person's driveway, cranked the wheels all the way to the curb, just in case, yanked the parking brake as much as you possibly could to make sure that it was holding. And then, obviously I drive a manual. I put the car in first gear as just an extra precaution.
When I put my manual, I always put it in gear, always.
Yeah.
I never parked it in neutral.
Used to do it all the time with the Z, but now like with the N, like because I know I have a working functional parking brake, I just kind of get out of that mentality. But I've had a few situations where I accidentally leave it in gear and then I'll stall. But I was like, I cannot.
Don't you put your clutch in and start it?
So I put the clutch in, but as habit, sometimes I'll just like take my foot straight off of it.
Yeah. I've done that too. I remember the seat, yeah.
So I'm like, I can't have that happen on a hill like this. And so what I did was I had the parking brake, I put it in first gear, and I wrapped my USB cable around my my
look at you
gear shifter.
MacGyvering it, man.
But just so that like when I got in the car, I would look down and say, oh, this is weird. My USB cable's wrapped around.
Oh, it was like
here.
a reminder,
as a reminder that the car
kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, everything was good, but I was a little paranoid. I haven't let that car just sit just on this this straight up feels like a vertical hillside.
So what did you guys do at the event today?
So it was literally just kind of like a meet and greet kind of thing.
You met Doug?
Yeah, Doug was there. Another kind of big guy around in their space. Nick Rollison is.
I know the guy. Yeah,
he was there. He brought his SLR McLaren there, so it was cool to see that. Kind of all opened up and kind of on display. Filippo, I've met Doug before as well, but I've met Filippo and Sean, their producer. I've met them at different Cars and Coffees as well. So kind of caught up with them and just got a chance to chat with them and, just kind of here and there. But I got to meet a couple of really local guys that I'd never met before, but that, are either in the social media space or just have some crazy cars that are kind of, in that world, kind of in and around that, some guys just, with the GT3s, with the GT350, Mustangs. And you just got to talk to them and kind of, get to know their stories a little bit more and, just kind of see their environment. But literally it was just kind of a chance to kind of look around, their studio, see what cars they had, in that studio on display at the time. They had a simulator, which was cool. I got a chance to get on the little computer simulator and do a couple of laps, which shout out, I did have the fastest lap time.
Well, look at you,
on the simulator until I didn't.
Okay. Well, were you the first one to do it? That's why?
No, yeah. You can say, yeah, I was the first one. No, but it was a good 4 or 5 people before me, and I was the fastest up until this one guy kind of nixed all of us, by 2 seconds on Laguna Seca. So, I was second, so I'll take that. But
there you go, man.
It was a lot of fun. Like I said, it was just a chance to kind of see some folks in and around that I might have either seen before or hadn't met, but really are still kind of either in the social media space or one of the guys that bring out some crazy cars that you never really have that chance to connect with. And
did you guys talk about social media stuff? Did you guys talk about any strategy to for independent creators like us to kind of crack into the space? Give you any tips at all?
That did come up a lot, actually. A couple of guys, I got into pretty in-depth conversations about that. And really, I would love to say and I didn't learn anything. But
come on, dude. I mean, it's probably the same jargon you hear. Everybody says, be unique, be special, do your thing,
Yeah.
Always be posting, post valuable content, know your audience.
Luckily, it wasn't like that, it wasn't that level of generic. I definitely feel like it was genuine conversation of some struggles and some breakthroughs that some folks have had kind of in that space. But some of the biggest things that that I did catch wind of, one guy that I met, his name's Red. And so when I first met him, I was like, my name's Red. And he's like, is it red? And he's like, yeah, red, like the color. And that's how he introduces himself, because that's the easiest way. And so when I got to talking to him more, he's like, yeah, my social media, my Instagram and YouTube is red like the color. That's his name. And I'm like, that's brilliant, because that's you're basically giving people your social media just naturally, because that's how you already converse with people. But he's been doing this cool thing with his YouTube where he started with $3,000. And his goal is to basically, he bought a $3,000 car and he's basically flipping cars like into like the next flip, getting himself to the point where like he's made enough to be able to buy his dream like Lamborghini Gallardo.
Well, you have to, if you're going to do that, you got to make sure the car you have to flip is actually going to be more valuable from what you bought it for.
There's a strat. He has kind of a strategy. He's kind of been around like the automotive space for a while and knows markets and different things like that. It's still a guesswork deal because you never know what you might have to put into the car when you buy it. And then, you never know really what, you got to search for the people that are really going to pay like the most money for it. And so it's a lot of strategy involved in it. And plus you got to buy the cars. Like you got to, you might have a set price in mind to buy the car, but the person you find might not be willing to sell it. And if it's a rare car, you might not just be able to walk down the street and find somebody else who has the same car. And so, it's an interesting concept to like start with $3,000, buy the $3,000 car, and then start to like piecemeal your way up to where you're making a profit each time going into the next car. And then you're stacking that profit up enough to get to this like milestone goal or whatever. But
it's got to be a little profit. The profit margin can't be very much.
It's probably not that large. Like
because you got to consider your labor and your time. No one seems to consider that ever. Their labor and their time. The time it takes you to do whatever you got to do to the car, all the parts you got to order, putting it together. You pay for things in time and money. That's pretty much it. And so whatever you put into the car, say a $3,000 car, but you spent 50 hours working on it and like spent a couple $1,000s on parts and stuff. Now you're really into the car for $8,000, and now you got to sell it for $5,000. Well, that's kind of a loss, even though you think it's a gain because you paid $2,000 whatever for the car. So that's the thing that's kind of tricky. You really have to know what you're doing. And I think you really have to either devalue your own time. Like devalue what you're worth,
which I think is a big factor of that. I do agree. Like I think at a certain point you do have to say that like I don't want to say my time is not as valuable as the price that I can sell this car for, but all the effort that it takes to make the deal happen, to do what work you have to do to keep the car in a good state so you can then sell the car, and then going through the selling process, like you have to kind of be willing to eat that, in terms of like, this is going to take me more time than it really should from an ROI perspective. But my goal is the monetary side of things, of the upside profit of going, selling this car so I can then, get into something else.
Essentially, you become a used car lot.
A little bit. Yeah.
You are literally. You are physically a used car lot. They buy used cars. They do whatever they got to do to them, and they flip them around. And the only way they make money is selling a bunch of these cars, not just one or two here and there. They got to sell a bunch. Of course, you have to have a space to put them, and a lot space, and mechanics.
Well, the good thing about his situation is he's really like focusing on one car at a time, which is probably smart of him. In that
for him, if he's doing it himself, but then if you want to make some money.
Oh yeah,
unless it's a really rare car. Like say you found a vintage Ferrari, and you picked it up for dirt cheap, but you're gonna, if you can sell it for a couple million, then maybe.
Well, but still, like if you probably had to put some money into it at that point, and
of course you did, and time and hours, and everything. Well, it's like a house too, like flipping houses. If you want to flip a house, buy a house, it's like totally like Murder City looking house, and then you do all this work to it, and you flip it, sell it for whatever prices are today, and you can make some money on it. I used to watch all those flipping shows. There's a bunch of them on TV.
There was a point where I was just all about all of like the HGTV.
Oh,
Flipper Flop.
That was my show, man. I watched them until they got divorced, and then they got, I don't know what the deal is. I tried watching afterwards. I don't know. And there was a bunch of different versions. There was a Flipper Flop Vegas, and then there was one for like, I think somewhere else. But I watched the Vegas one, and I wasn't too impressed with that one for some reason. Like the dude looked like some MMA fighter, and I think that the chick looked like she was a showgirl or something.
I actually never really knew that there was they basically tried to like duplicate themselves like in different markets. I actually never knew that.
Yeah,
I always knew about I knew about Tarek and Christina.
Well, there was another show in Hawaii we started watching. It's a very similar concept. Older house, they buy it, they flip it, but it has more of a sentimental value to the house. Like they have their dad come by and they bless the house for the new buyers, and they sing some Hawaiian song and all that kind of stuff. But the houses are ridiculously overpriced. I mean, they're quite priced. We're talking like millions or whatever.
Yeah.
And the way they could describe it, like, or we're fixing this house up for a nice family to have, but like, it's over $1 million. It's like, it's not like your average family is going to buy that, but maybe they do in Hawaii. I don't know. But yeah, so same concept, just flipping the cars and try to make some money, get your dream car. But even when you get your dream car, are you like, well, I want the next thing or whatever,
No, I'll say like this is just if we had him on, like he would probably have a different, he'd probably have way more of an in-depth like thought process of how he goes about this. But back to like the original question of kind of a nugget of kind of some of what we talked about was that he started to see some growth, a good amount of growth and success from that, because not only are people kind of invested in seeing like, man, what's this guy going to do next? Like, he bought this car, like what's going to go on with the car? And, they're tuning because he posts every Sunday. He told me he has a weekly posting schedule, which consistency was one of the biggest things that came up in pretty much all the conversation I talked to people
YouTube
about.
Or what podcast or what?
He's YouTubing. So
but I didn't think consistency matters much on YouTube.
And I know we've talked about this a bit. It's a different element to it. Like it's, the YouTube algorithm will definitely, you can have a situation where you post something and it doesn't, you don't see much value and then it all of a sudden spikes because the algorithm got something right and they're putting in front of the right people. And also too,
like your stuff it's never shown in order. Like it's never really shown, like you look at my page, it's like everything's kind of mishmash.
Yeah.
So versus versus like a podcast where everything's kind of shown in chronological order when I release it. But on the YouTube side, it's like all like whatever. It just throws up whatever.
Well, but I will say though, that's where like with YouTube, like the consistency comes in, where when you have a good amount of you have a good portfolio of videos, or you have content that people can sort of, you really kind of use the word binge, like they can get recommended, like because when you go on the YouTube, like you can make those settings when you do your end screens and things like that.
I did that. That's right.
You can either have it so that YouTube recommends whatever is the best fit, even if it's not your own videos, or you can recommend specific videos out of your own portfolio. And so if you have a lot of content that you can then recommend off of a video that you posted, then that keeps people sort of in your feed. And if you're sticky enough, if people really enjoy your content, they're going to stay. But the other side of it is that he kind of had this mentality of not only people are following for like the day-to-day, like what am I doing with these cars, but because he kind of has this like overarching goal of buying that Lamborghini, he's like, his whole thing is like trying to bring people into like this long-term outlook of like, come with me on this journey of trying to like piece my way to this goal kind of thing. And yeah, he'll probably, if he got to the point like, okay, now what do I do next? Like there's going to have to be something next. But for this like, year or so that he's been doing it, he's been seeing that a lot of people are willing to kind of stick around to the journey because they're interested in what's going on right now, but they're also interested in seeing like, will this guy actually get to this goal? Like they're kind of sticking around to see if he actually makes it. And he's noticing that like that, along with the consistent posting schedule, like all of that is kind of a wave of consistency that's kind of helping him get some good viable traffic going to his videos. And that was just what I picked up. The biggest thing from that is that if you can find some way that like brings people, like they're interested in what's going on in the present, but they're also interested in something that's maybe further out and they want to stick around for the journey, that tends to bring people back, as you keep posting week after week or whatever. Like, I don't think you got to post every day. Like some people feel like they got to post every single day and that's the only way you grow. Like, I don't feel like that's the case.
Well, it depends what you're doing though. It really depends what you're doing. Like I started following this girl. She was rowing across the Atlantic Ocean from United States to I think England or whatever. She made it, and every day she posted. I just saw it on Instagram.
But that's probably easy to do, though. Like because she was probably doing that every day. Like,
well, right. But she's making a whole reel. Maybe she's doing a YouTube channel too. I don't know. I just saw the Instagram version of it. That's the only thing I knew. So at least on Instagram, she was posting a full blown reel. She was creating what she did during the day and different things of the day. Like every day it would say, this is day 55 or whatever. This is day 25 or whatever, and kind of like a vlog style, really what it was. But it was every single day. And I've seen other people do very similar things. There was this rowers, these guys that were doing the same thing. I forget where they're rowing, either from England to the United States or which way, both. I don't know. But anyways, it's a common thing now. Now I'm hearing another team of women going to do it across the Pacific Ocean, which is like crazy nuts. Wow. And so, but it's kind of I always kind of wondered, like, how they get internet out there. It's got to be like Starlink or something like that. It's got to be how they do it, because there's no internet. Once you go out to sea, your phone's dead. Like, your phone's useless. Yeah. Unless you've got some kind of like satellite, solar, something or other, or whatever. They have it all figured out, whatever.
With something to that level, they've probably got some resources to tap into, and they're probably maybe not doing the day-to-day, but like maybe they got like the video or something, or they show videos of them doing it, but like they're probably not really managing like the overall like social media aspect. Like they got somebody to do that.
Oh, I think somebody else is doing it for them. They're not doing it. They're just sending it over.
There's got to be. I mean, because they're in it. Like they're doing this.
That's what I was kind of wondering. When you're in social media, like if you are doing the content creation, like you're doing it, you're doing very, very well. By the way, I was looking at your YouTube channel like yesterday or whatever day it was. Like your stuff looks really, really well produced, like really well edited. A lot of quick edits, a lot of multiple angles, a lot of different video, a lot of different elements and music and different transitions. Like a lot of stuff. I'm sure it takes you a long time to put together that 5-minute video versus I think there's a lot of people that come in to the space, like even with Doug, for example, he doesn't do anything. He
doesn't do any of that.
He records, and even with the podcast and stuff, doesn't do none of that stuff. It's all handled for him. As an independent creator, we don't have the luxury. So,
and in your earlier point, like I literally eat the time that it takes me to do that stuff. Like that's the part where like equipment and things aren't like crazy. Like I bought it outright, and like it wasn't that crazy expensive, but the amount of time that I put into it is like from ROI's perspective is probably not, the value is not fully there.
Well, it can be said for YouTube, even for podcasting. I've heard there were some shows, I kid you not, were taking weeks to edit one podcast episode. Weeks. And I'll give them credit if it's one of those shows that's got nothing but sound effects, and it's like a sweeping like radio drama where it's got different actors and different things and all the different stuff. And it's like a radio drama. And those do take time to put together. But even for like a regular like interview or whatever, I mean, there are people that just want to make it so perfect. But I think that, I don't think it has to be as perfect, at least on the audio side, as I thought it used to be. I thought it had to be as perfect as radio. Need to sound like radio, need to be as quick as radio, and needed to have all the elements like radio, need to sound like radio. And in audio podcasting, it doesn't really have to be that pristine. People are more forgiving with, I don't say bad audio, but I'm saying like not quite radio quality audio. Doesn't have to be that great. I like to have it sound fairly decent, but just maybe I'm just picky and I'm just a perfectionist that way. But I don't spend hours and hours at this show, like it doesn't take me hours to do this. I'm pretty quick with this kind of stuff. Yeah. So I think if you can figure out a way to get something done quickly, especially if you do like a daily show, like the guy's saying like a daily show or whatever, you got to either like not do any editing at all or have somebody do it for you, which can't be cheap. I can imagine. I do a full blown video editor for a YouTube channel. Can't be cheap, especially if you're doing like B-roll. To do what you do for your show, what do you think it would cost you to have somebody do that for you?
Oh, man, what would I want to be getting paid on the side for what I do now is I think of it. But I mean, it would be ridiculous because it's like, one, like they would have to be, I would imagine they would have to like offer like revisions because like, in my mind, like,
I don't know if they do or not. I don't.
But that's the thing. Yeah. Like if they, if they didn't offer revisions, like that's probably added costs on top of that of needing to revise the video. If there's certain things you want to tweak and change and things like that.
But if you need the video out today, you got time for that.
That's true.
You got time for revisions going back and forth.
Yeah.
It depends how quickly you need it too. And I think a lot of these editors, whether it's podcasting or video, I think the big draw that I'm hearing about from people is that turnaround time. Yeah. How quickly can you turn it around? Not just turn around anything, but turn around something decent, I guess too. That's part of the equation, really. Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it too. So I think that how to get something out on your timetable with your stuff you have, and I know how to do it on my timetable with the stuff I have. and I can do it fairly quickly and stuff. But I think that if you're passing off somebody else, you don't know what they're going to do, or maybe it's you want to do it again because they didn't do it right or whatever.
And I think that's part of it too. Is like, this goes back to kind of the concept of like whenever I think of it as like an entrepreneur. Like, a lot of people want to become an entrepreneur because they are on their own. They're on even though they have deadlines that they probably have to like deal with their clients or whatever they do. Like they're sort of on their own terms. They're on their own schedule. They can make their own schedule. And I think that that's something that I prefer, and that I'm willing to take this maybe more of the time sacrifice because I'm on my own deadline, my own self-imposed deadline of, this is when I want to get a video posted. So, I'm going to put in the work to get it done, but this was set by myself and not somebody else.
Yeah, but I still think on YouTube, it doesn't matter as much. I just don't think on YouTube, because the way the algorithm is, the way the whole display is set up, the way the videos are set up, the way the feed's set up, the way everything's set up, it doesn't matter as much to be as consistent versus an audio podcast.
If you were, and I like that you use the word as the phrase as consistent, because I think there still has to be like, for anything that's not like a large YouTube channel with like a large following, like you're not a Mr. Beast or a Doug DeMuro or like, one of those where like the name is there and like you see a Doug DeMuro video pop up. And if you're into that, you're just going to watch it instantly. Like if you're not at that stage, you're a small, you're a small channel. You do like if you post a video and you don't post for like 6 months, like most likely that video, even if that video did great the 6 months prior, the video you post 6 months after probably isn't, because you're just out of like the flow of the algorithm.
Oh, people have kind of forgotten. Forgot you got. Yeah, that's a possibility. But I'm getting recommended videos that were like, I look at the date on them and it's like 2 years ago. Or 4 years ago.
That's where, again, like I say, like I do think that you're right when you say that it's like, you don't have to be as consistent on like a algorithm based YouTube versus podcasting. Podcasting is like if you're not in that flow and people aren't with this. Like I've commended you over and over again of the fact that, keeping that consistency of uploading even through, some crazy times and still keeping things going. That is a value based that, a lot of people won't be able to keep up with. YouTube is maybe a little bit more forgiving in the fact that you could have something that just for some reason clicks and gets to the right, group of people. And all of a sudden you start to get growth off of that. I agree that that's not, there's a difference in that. I still think though that you couldn't just kind of get away with like posting a video 1 month and ghosting, and then posting another video 6 months, a year later, and still think that you're going to get the same engagement level.
Well, I also think that's why social media is important. You kind of be on social media, whether you're at Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, because those things kind of get shown out regularly to more people, pretty regularly. Mm-hmm. And I always say, like, always be posting. I think with podcasting anyways, at least, is that if nobody tells anybody about the podcast, no one's going to really know about
Nobody's going to know, yeah.
Right. So you have to be out there knocking on doors, and I say like social media doors, I guess, is the door you're knocking on, and stuff to kind of like get the word out and kind of post about it and stuff like that. But I know that, social media does come in handy. And I think more people are on social media that are on YouTube. I know YouTube's popular, but I just think more people are actually more eyeballs. If you're looking to compare eyeballs to eyeballs, I think more eyeballs are running through social media.
It is different. It is interesting that people might say that they consider YouTube social media, but
I do.
In all honesty, I do, but I do look at it differently than an Instagram or a TikTok or a Facebook. Like I look at what's posted on a YouTube channel in a different light than I look at what's posted on. I feel like Instagram is like a way to really kind of engage. Like you can really engage maybe on a day-to-day basis with like all of like the different elements of Instagram, like whether it's posting stories or, posting reels, like, quick reels that like maybe, don't take you that long to make, but it gives you some engagement with like the people that follow you. And then obviously like if you really do put a lot of work into like posts and different things, you have like almost these 3 different, kind of elements to stay engaged on a little bit more of a, regular basis than with YouTube, where, even with your YouTube short, like you don't want to just put out something that just, some people do it, but you ideally don't want to just put out like a YouTube short of you just like outside, like, in your backyard with like wind noise and, talking about some topic and people can barely hear you. Like, you don't really want to do that, because unless you got a big following, like nobody's going to watch that. Versus on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, like people will probably give a little bit more of that a chance because they feel like they're maybe engaging with you on like a little bit more of a personal level. I don't know. I treat my Instagram a little bit more as like a way to like have more frequent engagement versus my YouTube channel. I treat that as like, I'm really trying to put
production.
like I'm putting up, this is the production. Like, this is like the culmination of like, like a week of things going on or like a special event or whatever. Like I'm putting that on YouTube. That's just how I look at it. I don't know if other people look at it that way, but I
think people do. And in all honesty, though, I was realizing this. I should be realizing this for a while now. Is that me personally? I watch very little YouTube these days.
Mm-hmm.
Honest to God, I watch very, very little YouTube because it takes dedication. It takes time and dedication, which I have very little of.
Yeah.
And so that's why I probably listen to podcasts so much more. And I probably also why I like to watch like clips on Instagram, because it's like, okay, well, here's 1 minute, here's 30 seconds, here's 10
like
seconds.
I can spare a minute. Yeah.
Right.
But like, but 10 minutes, like,
oh, hell no.
50 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah.
Unless it's something that's really, really gravitating. I think for me, though, in all honesty, like the only videos I've really watched on YouTube of late have been like major production stuff. We're talking like the news or CNN or like an interview with a famous celebrity doing an interview with Entertainment Tonight or something like that. Something kind of like something television worthy, let's just say, that's on YouTube. Tonight Show, like nighttime hosts doing their monologue, stuff like that. Those are things I've watched on YouTube when I do watch YouTube. But for the most part, like I don't watch as much YouTube as I used to. And I don't know. I don't know, it's just me. Maybe it's because I'm busy and I'm in the podcasting space and that kind of thing. But I always kind of wondered about like own user behavior when you look at these different things, whether it's Instagram, podcasting, YouTube, whatever it is. I always kind of look inward and say like, what do I use? Like, how do I consume the stuff? And try to figure out a way. If I'm consuming this, everybody's different. I get it. There are people that just sit on YouTube all day, right? That's all they do. And all that. I get that. But there's people who don't watch YouTube at all. And so for me, I just try to see what I do and try to like lean into that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I do agree, because that's, how you consume like the platform that you're on is maybe a good tailor to how you produce content for that same platform, if that makes sense. Like, you can try and guess at how other people are using it, but your best experience is how you engage with it. And therefore, how do I make my content that I'm creating engage with somebody that would be like me? Because we can't think that like we're the only ones that that operate the way that we do. Like, there has to be other people out there that operate the way we do and consume things the way we do. So, I mean, that's what I'm picking up is that, if you understand how you consume, say, social media, like that helps you create
like,
content.
Like what you're into, like what makes you stop the scroll. It's all about stopping the scroll. And even with YouTube also, it's not necessarily a scroll on YouTube, but it's like the thumbnail. Like what makes you click on this thumbnail versus another one or whatever, vice versa. What, like all these videos on your screen.
The title.
Yeah, which one makes you, what of all these things, you only got 5 minutes to spare. Which one are you clicking on and why? And then once you kind of figure that out, then you kind of start like, I guess, deconstruct it and think like, well, if they did it this way and this is what got me to click, maybe I should design my show and my stuff similar to way, not say copy them, I'm saying like use the format that they're using to get you to click. Maybe that. And that same thing even for podcasting, or even with like Instagram, like you're scrolling through stuff. Wherever.
What made you stop? Yeah.
Right. What made you do the stop? What stopped you stop the scroll? And I'm kind of trying to figure that out. And I'm trying to lean into that stuff a little more than just creating just to create, if that makes sense.
That's actually really solid advice. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, I'm taking note of this too as well. Like, I think that's a really simple way to put it. Is like, in the social media realm of like, again, where it's so easy to scroll and it's so easy to just keep going and not really be taking in anything. What is it that like what is it that personally for you, like what is it that makes you stop like to take in like whatever it is that you're looking at? And therefore from there, like as a creator, what elements of that can I take into my content to potentially make other people stop, slow down, and actually, take in the content I'm producing?
Well, it's like a chef. If you're cooking something and you're like tasting the food as you go along, well, that's really good. That's really good. Whatever, and you serve it to other people.
Yeah.
And so what the thing that you tasted, you're like, well, that's really good. Like, I'm going to serve this to other people. It's the same kind of concept, but like at a different level. And another thing I was thinking about this too the other day is I think that people really remember people or remember things that made them feel something.
Yeah.
If you can make somebody feel something, whether it's hate, love, laughter, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think people really remember you've made them feel a certain way, especially a good feeling. You remember, think of somebody like a teacher in school that that was a cool teacher. Like, why was it a cool teacher? Oh, he was really kind, really nice. I mean, he really, encouraged us. He was very kind and he said positive things, made us feel good about ourselves, or something like that. For example, I was kind of wondering about that. It's like people do really, really flock to, things making them feel good is one good thing. And I there's so much content out there. There's so many different things out there. It's like, which direction do you go? I get it. But I just look at ourselves like we gravitate to things that make us feel good.
Yeah.
Or get pissed off too. I see a lot of that too. I think people get pissed off at things too on social media. That seems to be a big trend now. It's like you post things that get people mad.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much like mad at you, but like mad at like a situation. So-and-so just did this. So-and-so just got arrested for this, and all this stuff. There's a new trend I've seen on social media now that people are, I don't know what you call it, but it's like almost like, I've seen this in politics a lot where like a politician, did something, naughty or whatever. And everyone just like blasts them all over social media. But I've seen it with personal people too. There are people that will post comments on people's posts. And then that person will investigate that person and then just blow up all their stuff all over social media and say, look at this person and look all this stuff and all this craziness. And it's just like, it goes on and on. It's like a mudslinging contest,
Yeah.
But those get traction too because people love to bash them. People love to jump on a train when it bashes somebody else, seems like. I can't stand that.
But the moment they feel threatened is when they're the ones that are about to jump down somebody else's throat.
Yeah. It's almost like those bad comments you get on your YouTube channel when it's like the person who posted has like one follower.
Yeah.
And no views,
Dude,
no videos.
I have yet to be proven wrong with that situation, man. Like it's, and I just have fun with it now at this point. When I like, when I see somebody that says something like, it's pretty easy, like with some of the content I post here and there too. And I'm ready. Like and all the time, like I'll go and I'll check and I'm like, what are you posting while you're over here commenting like this?
Right. I do the same thing with followers. I noticed I've triggered the bots again because the bots have been following me like crazy on one of my Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
I'll see new follower. I click on it and like, what is this person? Click on them. It'll be straight up like a bot, but they'll have a link to like an adult website or something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of those are popping up on my feed now all of a sudden. So it's kind of a weird thing when you hit these different algorithms. You never know what's going to pop up or whatever and things like that. And it's just kind of the way it goes. But to wrap things up here, you had something to talk about your favorite kind of car, and that is the electric eel, man. The electric car.
Don't out me like that. I am. I respect EVs and what they do, but I am 100% still internal combustion. Like I am.
So
I'm all about
what's the latest news with the plug and play cars?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, well, yeah. That's the best way to put it. Is plug and play cars these days are they're to sum it up. Like, and we can get into a little deeper, but I think we're realizing that people are still really see these as like they see these as a commodity. They don't really see them as a true luxury item, as something that like when they have that maybe more exposable income to spend on something more expensive, like when back in the day, again, when you would buy a Cadillac or a Mercedes or a BMW because you could, like, they're not seeing the same sort of progression with a lot of these EV cars. And the biggest reason I say that is because, as we talked about, Tesla has decided to basically stop production of the Model S and
What?
the Model
No
X.
way! I'm gonna buy one next week.
Yeah.
What? Are you kidding me? For real?
You gotta go get that used marketplace version.
How much is it for
now.
battery replacement? I wonder about that.
I have no idea.
And how easy is it to do that? I'm still waiting for the solar powered one to come out, where it's all solar powered and just runs nonstop.
Well, they do some of, I don't know if Tesla specifically, but there are cars that do have, like, say their roof is like a solar panel and it helps like do like you run auxiliary power and things like that. But
battery
it's not charging.
I
you
want
up
full
completely.
power, dude. I want the thing to run like I want to be able to run coast to coast and never have to juice it for nothing.
We ain't the hamster wheel within the car is not quite there yet.
Damn it, man. But you know what? So Tesla, they're getting rid of the Model S. What did the S ever stand for? Do you ever know? Speed?
No.
Super? Super cool?
Yeah. I mean, I think it just sounded
supercharged,
cool,
but not really charged.
It was like I heard way back. I felt like it was like, Model T was like, revolutionized like how cars were built, like how they built, Model T more on an assembly line and things like that. And the Model S was like this, like, progression into like this new wave of like EV cars and things like that. But yeah, I don't think the S stood for anything special. Didn't
Tesla have a sports car version?
So this is why I wanted to bring this up is everybody, now people don't really talk about it a lot at all, but everybody really used to talk a lot about, again, the Tesla Roadster.
That was the first first thing they created, right? So
they did have like the original Tesla Roadster, but the Tesla Roadster is a little nuanced because the Tesla Roadster was produced actually by like a company before Elon actually bought Tesla or, became like this, large partner in Tesla. There was a pre-Elon Tesla and then there was like post-Elon Tesla. And so they had the Tesla Roadster pre-Elon Tesla, but I'm actually referring more to the post-Elon Tesla Roadster, Roadster situation where they teased this car that would have like a sub 2 second 0 to 60. It had this sleek styling. It would be a 2-seat EV sports car. And they had been talking about it, I think, since like at least like 2019, if not before that. But they've just never, they've kind of had little waves here of like kind of re-updating information, but never have like really committed to bringing it out. And the one thing that I think that really, I'll maybe give a little bit of credit to Elon is that I think the main reason why there wasn't a big push to actually really get it out to market was that he knew that the market wasn't really there for something like that. Like he knew that people really, as much as they said like they were all for it, they would love to see a true like supercar from Tesla to come out. Like he knew that people weren't really going to actually go out and buy it, like at the end of the day. And I think now with them, the reason they're saying that they're, halting production or they're not going to manufacture the S and the X anymore is really because they want to build these like those humanoid robots that they've been working on.
Of course, let's ride those things around town.
So yeah, well, ride them around. He's thinking they're going to do things for us now. They'll drive us around town. Like they'll drive our Teslas for us, I guess. But they're basically making room for being able to manufacture those by removing the S and X manufacturing and
I
doing
see what
the
he's
robot.
doing. So he's taking the manufacturing plant and he's removing the Model S's out of there and he's reconfiguring it to make the T1000s or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I get it.
I like how you threw that in there subtly too for the people that know.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's T1. It's T1. Is it the Cyberdyne, the Terminators? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, exactly. But I'm saying because I'm gonna really out myself is that I've never actually watched like a whole Terminator movie.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you probably, if anybody's listening, probably turn the podcast off now. Like I've lost all credibility whatsoever. But
wow, not even like the second one's the most popular one. You haven't seen the second one?
I have not. I've not seen, not all the way through. I've seen clips and little pieces, but I can feel the judgment right now.
That's okay. It's okay. Well, in that movie, anyways, so Tesla dude wants to build, Elon Musk wants to build the robot things or whatever, and those things are like $20,000 a piece, I think, aren't they?
I haven't seen pricing on that.
I thought they were retail. I remember looking at those. I thought that'd be super cool to have one of those. Yeah. Like, hey, what would you name a robot? If you had a robot, what would you name it?
Jarvis, of course.
Jarvis, of course. Now, would it sound like the Jarvis from Iron Man?
It would have to, yeah. This I would have to have the full Jarvis experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you want to go for a female version? You see those female bots that got coming out now? I see videos on Instagram. It's so funny. Where like it looks like a girl, but like it's a rubber face over the skeleton or whatever kind of thing and stuff like that. And they have a lot of those bots out now do that kind of stuff. But there was a movie out where it was with Megan Fox. I saw like a little bit of it, and when she was playing with those robot person, and the dude, the husband of the house, ended up hooking up with the robot.
Yeah,
in the movie, but
of course,
I mean, who wouldn't, right? It's Megan Fox. I get it. So, but like, I don't think we're quite there yet, and I think it's just a funny novelty, and I just kind of wonder. I see movies like iRobot. Have you seen iRobot?
Yeah, I have seen.
Okay,
iRobot,
that's very similar. iRobot reminds me very similar to what the Elon robots are going to be like. They look very similar in size and look very similar the way the thing and all that stuff. And I kind of wonder about that. I don't know what it can do and can't do, and if it's going to have like. And remember the movie? There was like 3 protocols where like I think it was 3 protocols that 3 rules that the robot couldn't break was like it couldn't disobey a human order. It couldn't put a human in harm, and there was another third one. I forget the third one was, but there's 3 rules basically like were put in place to make sure that the robots didn't harm humans. But of course, that was a movie, so that got broken, and then fun continues. But yeah, if you want to do that, go right ahead, do whatever. I just think that EVs are fun and all; they're kind of a novelty. And I think if you've got like luxurious car price money where you can buy anything you want cash, like in that $100,000 price range. Like, I don't know if buying an EV is something you care about. It's the same kind of people that probably live in California, make millions and billions, but don't care much about their taxes, whatever. They don't care about gas price. Let's put that. If gas price goes up to $7-8 a gallon, they're like, whatever. Who cares? Hey, Jarvis, go fill the car up.
Yeah. Well, I will say there's probably people that don't care much about gas prices, but taxes seem to really get to everybody no matter what price.
It does, but I'm saying like we're heavily overtaxed on our gasoline versus other states in the country, and so people complain about that a lot. But I think the big draw, at least for me, if I was going to get what's probably a big draw for a lot of people that get an EV car, is the gas savings. That's the first thing everybody brags about. We talk about in this show about how when you rented that EV truck, how the price wasn't like that much different than buying gas.
Yeah.
But you also got it from one of those like charging places, not from charging at your house. So that's probably a difference, but that's probably like the main reason why people buy these things is so they can save money on electricity. I mean, save money on gas. Like I'm not paying, whatever a gallon, whatever and stuff. And so
that might go away. That might go away now too. But this is a whole separate topic. We probably don't got to get into.
Goodness. But the mileage tax.
That would really throw a wrench in a lot of things in that realm. But
it's because they're not making money on gas. If only people are buying these electric cars or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the reason people buy them is they can avoid paying at the gas pump. That's what I keep hearing about that. And I know when gas prices surged to like $6 and above, like EV sales were just like crazy. Everyone's either trying to buy one or trying to get into them. And same thing happened to me when I bought my first house, house before last. The first summer, I ran the AC, and guess what? I hit with a big old fat bill. And the very next day, I looked up and Googled all the solar companies in town, and I got solar installed immediately.
That's funny.
Immediately, because I'm not paying this crap. And I can see the same thing happening if you have an EV car. But if you're super uber rich, do you really care? I don't think you care as much. I really don't. I don't think you care.
Well, what I think is like I do still think that there's a market for them. Like even in the luxury space, like I think there's a market for them. But we were talking about this a little bit beforehand too. Is that like Tesla has still sort of always they've still been seen as like, yes, they make cool, interesting cars, but the quality aspect has always been something that people have complained about throughout like Tesla's history. Like they whether it's just fit and finish or like certain quality items, like they just have not been at that par of like quality that people would be expecting to pay at those higher price ends. Like the things that you would, accept out of like the Model 3 and the Model Y being like just like a pure commuter car that you're just using to get from point A to point B, do what you needed to do, are different from somebody that's spending over $100,000 on a car that, yes, they wanted to do all of those same things, but they're also getting it because of some of the aesthetic value and the fit and finish. They want that to be in place. And I think there's other EV cars that do that a lot better than Tesla. Like,
are you talking like luxury brands?
Like Cadillac, for example. Like, they're like, I had a chance to drive the Cadillac Escalade IQ like a while back. This was like a year or so ago, where I got a chance to drive that. And like, getting into that, like you're just getting into like a luxury living room, like, just fit and finish, leather everywhere, screens everywhere, the door chimes and things make you feel like you're just in the
dash where you can look in front of the bumper, like you look at the screen, but it's like looking out the front of the bumper.
Yeah, like the what they call it, the sort of night vision camera kind of thing.
I don't know what it's called, but I've gotten a ride with somebody and he had that screen on. It was kind of a trip to look at. Like you're looking at the window, but then you're looking at the dash, which is looking at the window.
And like,
weird.
Yeah. And like things like that, like I feel like certain brands have created some EV, cars that have the fit and finish, the quality, the technology, and all of those bells and whistles that really make people want to spend that extra $100,000 that they wouldn't spend on, say, a Model S or a Y. Like they would spend that on like those cars. Even Rolls-Royce, like they changed the Rolls-Royce Spectre is like a full EV Rolls-Royce, which a lot of people were like, you just can't do that. Like that's not going to be a thing. But there's certain people that really, again, if the quality of Rolls-Royce, you want a Rolls-Royce to be like a quiet, serene experience. So, I mean, the natural progression is to like make that, have the same power output and delivery, but make it EV. People might pay for that. But I think the struggle and what Tesla really realized was that people some people bought them. Like, it's not like they, people weren't buying them, but the real market driver was that, their quality just wasn't at a point where like people were really able to like catch on and like really buy these things the way that they wanted them to. Versus with the 3s and the Ys, like people are buying those all day because they're not looking for the same quality fit and finish as they were, to spend on a $30, $40, $50, $60,000 car. And, again, they might have had a different thought process on that. Maybe it really was. They just, we want to build more robots. We don't got enough space. Let's just get rid of these cars. Like maybe it was just literally as simple as that. But I think that the reason why we never really heard much about the Roadster, because at this point, like I consider that they're just not going to do it. Because if they've canceled the S and the X, which were their top of the line flagship models, and and they just haven't talked about the Roadster for like the last 2 years, I don't think they're going to do it anymore. And I think the reason is
if you could, would you be interested in buying one?
I like when it comes to, I was talking to somebody about this too, is like, you know, I got a buddy who has a Audi e-tron GT, like the 4-door all electric Audi, all wheel drive. That thing, you know, with its full boost mode has like 900 horsepower or something like that. Like, why, in my opinion, this is like total soapbox moment. Why would I buy a 2-seat EV sports car that has 900 to 1,000 horsepower when I could buy a 4-seat, you know, way more practical EV sedan that does 0 to 60 in 0.8, 0.2 seconds slower. But like I said, it's still a 2-second 0 to 60 car, and have all of the practicality, but still majority of the performance as the EV sports car. Like, why would I even consider getting like something that's way less practical for that 0.2, of a acceleration, time?
Well,
I just don't see the point of it.
You just answered your own question, dude, because you said 2-door sports car versus a family car. That's the difference. Is that you're buying a sports car, not a family car.
Well, I don't see it. I don't see it that way though. Like I see like the Audi e-tron, like, again, yes, it's a 4-door car. That thing will out accelerate literally anything on the road.
Well, I'm sure it will.
It'll probably handle better than like a majority of things out on the road as well, because it has a really, really low center of gravity.
Well,
so
okay, what do you think of those Porsches, those big, long 4-door?
The Taycans?
Yeah, what do you think of those? Are 4 doors. They look slick.
Big fan of those too.
I don't consider those to be sports cars. I mean, they're Porsches, but I wouldn't consider them as a 911.
I feel like you're getting a 911 for maybe a different experience. Yeah, if they made an EV 911, I would get a Taycan over an EV 911. That's kind of where I plant my flag. It's like the only reason I would look at a 911 is because it still has an internal combustion engine. Like if
so you're talking EV is the issue, then not the actual size. I'm thinking like size of the vehicle, like a family car, whether it's EV or not EV.
That's where I think I differ a lot from a lot of people. It's like, I really don't care about the size or the amount of doors of the car. Like, if it can perform just as well, maybe a slight tick off, but just as well, same performance, same acceleration, but it's got extra practicality, I'm going for extra practicality.
I don't know, man. I mean, I like practicality too. I like it all. If your car could do it all, great. If it can be off-road, go fast, go do, haul the family and do whatever all at the same time, fantastic. And drift, great. Let's do it all. But I think that when you get to a level of like money, like Doug DeMuro kind of money, we have like, here's my Lamborghini, and here's my this over here, and here's my other thing over there, to where you have your fun two-door sports car, kind of thing. And then you have your, bigger, flagship, I guess, family car that can do fast. It can still do the fun stuff, but it's not quite a sports car, but it does sporty things, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
No, I mean, I think we're saying literally the same thing. It's like, I would still, like, my dream cars are still like the Lamborghini Aventador, like the Aston Martin DBS, like, those are, if I was in that price bracket, I would still be buying those cars. But what I'm saying is EV to EV, where it comes to getting, say, a sports car EV to a quote unquote family car EV, I would get a more practical EV that still does a majority of the things that the sports car EV does, and still have pretty much all of the same experience. The only reason that, again, I'm going outside of that with the internal combustion cars is because I still believe internal combustion cars give you a totally different experience than EVs do. And that's why I still dream about owning those internal combustion cars.
Well, as long as they're for sale, even on the used market, that dream can be a reality.
Oh, 100%.
Until California completely bans gas powered cars. Did they ever pass that through? They were going to do that.
They're gonna, and they would, and that was all on like new sales of they were trying to say that like they wouldn't sell any new EVs, but they
sell new gas powered cars.
Yeah, or they wouldn't sell any new gas powered cars, but yeah, that wasn't to say that like they were gonna come and like tow away all of your gas cars. Like
I don't know.
It would be the same thing as I don't want to get into that, but the firearm discussion, like they couldn't do that. Like California is just too strong on their side of the fence with internal combustion that like I don't think we'll ever get to a point where it's like 100%. We only have EVs. Like there's probably going to have to be different tax situations and different licensing and registration for internal combustion cars. But I don't think we'll ever get to a point where it's just like unless we're like 100, 200 years in the future, maybe. But in my lifetime, I do not suspect that we're going to get to a point of no internal combustion cars like owned by people or being able to be bought on the used market. Like there may be a possibility that we get to a point where like there's like maybe one or two cars that a manufacturer builds that are internal combustion, but everything else is EV. Like that could be a possibility, but the used market I don't think will ever go away. Like because you just would. I mean, how would you control that really? And I don't want people to put
everything
thought to it
that's
either,
new. Everything that's new becomes used at some point.
Yeah,
and so even if you keep flooding the market with new stuff, whatever it is, that eventually becomes used, and eventually goes to the used market. And so, if these manufacturers want to stay in business, if car dealerships want to stay in business, it's just a cycle of life, baby. It goes to new, goes to old, and we all pick it up and have fun with it. I mean, that brand new Corvette gets to the fifth owner, and they're doing sideshows with it, and throwing their buddy off the back of it. So courage, man, dude. This has been so fantastic. I'm so glad you had a great time heading over to Doug's, Bat Cave and seeing all the cool things over there, and your thoughts on EV stuff. It's been great talking to you, man.
No, man, thanks. Like I said, hopefully I didn't get too passionate there, but I love my ICE cars. I love my internal combustion. Like, that's with me forever. But, it's just interesting. It's interesting seeing the EV climate. And so thought I'd share some thoughts on it for sure.
Fantastic. And thank you, too, for listening. We appreciate you, too. If you want to follow along, head on over to coolcarswithchris.com. You can go over there and see all the cool stuff, links to everything. It's all right there. One-stop shop, baby. And until next time, we will see you later. Make sure you stay safe and make sure your Tesla does not catch on fire because that's a bad thing. Call that a barbecue Tesla. That's what the S stands for. Well, it doesn't work out that way, but barbecue S. That's what it is. I'll see you guys later.